Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Jim Reads Too Slow. I'm Jim, and this is going to be an official announcement video. There's going to be a horror reading event, as you probably know by now, during the month of May. It's called Horror Mayhem, and it was created by Scott and Becky over at the Bookish Bryants. The event will follow a pattern similar to their New Worlds November, which was dedicated to science fiction, and February Fantasy Stories, which was dedicated, of course, to fantasy, uh, which is a focus on shorter works, short stories, novelettes, novellas, novels under 250 pages, which is a great way for people without much background in horror, like myself, to get a taste of the genre and to decide whether we like it, whether we want to read more. I need to come clean and say that I can't think of one horror story that I've read. I know I must have read something, but horror is just, it's never been a focus for me. Um, I see day to day life as enough of a horror story. And so I want to, when I read, I want to escape um, or enrich my mind. Uh, and I've never really enjoyed being scared. So, that being said, there are some great hosts for this event who I urge you to check out. Check out their channels. There is some extensive knowledge of the horror genre in this list of hosts. And I am also honored to be one of the hosts for this event. I will be one of the noobs. And I guess I'll be here to prove that it's never too late um, to get into horror. So that being said, we will have four sub genres of horror, which we will be reading through the month, one per week, starting with supernatural beings or creatures during week one. I have chosen to read about mermaids, particularly the kind who would just as soon rip off your face as sit down with you to a nice lobster dinner. I'll start the event with Mira Grant's Rolling in the Deep, published in 2015. This is the latest or the newest horror story that I intend to read during the month. I also plan to read during this first week Algernon Blackwood's The Willows, which was published in 1907. I want to. I just want to get a good foundation in all of this with some horror classics. Plus, I don't want to spend a lot of money on something that it may turn out I really, really don't like and don't want to read any more of. So everything, not everything, most of what I'm reading can be found free on the World Wide Web. Project Gutenberg is a godsend for somebody like me in this situation. Something else I found as I researched my TBR, the more I researched, the fuzzier the boundaries seem to get between the varying subgenres. So, for example, The Willows, that could be, that could come in at a later time, as I'll mention. Anyway, week two, Gothic horror. I'm going to be reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the 1818 text. I got this nice Penguin classic, and if you want to know any more about the various revisions that Shelley did over the years, Michael K. Vaughan has a great video where he mentions all of that. Okay, now week three will be cosmic horror, also once known as Lovecraftian horror, which will, for the purposes of this event, also include anything involving space, science fiction type of horror. Anything, anything that you can convince yourself would fit into this category is perfectly fine. I could save The Willows, for example, for this work, for this week. But most likely, During week 3, Cosmic Horror, I'll be reading Robert W. Chambers' The Harbor Master, which was published in the 1890s, and Irvin S. Cobb's Fishhead from 1913. Now, both of these stories apparently had a huge influence on H.P. Lovecraft, as did The Willows, which he considered to be one of the great short stories. Okay, moving on to week 4, we have folk horror, and I'm going to read The Great God Pan by Arthur Machen, Arthur Machen, which also was published in the 1890s. And I've also seen this listed as a possible cosmic horror selection. So anyway, that's the weekly categories for Horror Mayhem and my TBR. Now, if you have any where to start type suggestions that I could benefit from, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'm a complete horror noob, as I said, so I'm willing to listen to anything. For example, I'd like to work in Nathaniel Hawthorne's Young Goodman Brown into this somewhere. I have a nice new, to me, Edgar Allan Poe collection that I'd like to work in some of the stories from that into this. And I don't see why I couldn't. We'll see. So, excuse me. Like I said, I want to thank Scott and Becky for including me in this. I'm going to do my best. And please check out the other hosts. Like I said, if you don't know who they are already, which you probably do if you're, interested at all in horror, this is going to be a good time, and I really am looking forward to it. So please, if you can follow along, if you can take part in this, do so. So that being said, have a good one, BookTube.